welcome everyone to Unscripted Coding. Today we are going to continue looking at this Word document that we were looking at last week. We wrote some basic code to prove the feasibility, but I wanted to complete the application, I suppose. But just a quick refresher of what we're trying to do. We have this random agreement, let's say a legal document, and it's getting passed back and forth between people. And so one of the cool things about Microsoft Word is you can track your changes, so that, say I want to get rid of this part, it will track that change. And so later on, you can accept that change or reject it. And that way you can keep track of different people working on the same document as well, and make changes, suggest changes without actually hurting the document, I suppose. So in the end, I could reject everything, go back to the original, or accept everything. But where it gets really confusing is once you start getting a lot of people involved. So already we have 3-4 different names here. And you're starting to see red, green, blue, different colors, different names. And for me, one of the things that I've seen a bit of is two legal teams duking it out. And you're going to see, different people from the different teams. So say I'm one company trying to negotiate this, I might bring, the business person, I might bring a lawyer, I might bring a junior lawyer, I might bring the paralegal. And once you start getting a lot of people, it's hard to tell who is who, who is actually making that change. Is it my side? Is it their side? And so something you might want to do is clean all of this up so that all of one party is labeled one way and all of another party is labeled another. Now, unfortunately, Word has no easy way of doing this. And when I looked online, you have all these people, splitting apart Word files or using Visual Basic Code, macros within this Word. It's just difficult. Okay, so what have we done? Well, in the last video, we decided to use Python to see if we can make this actually work. And so Microsoft Word files, at least the new ones since, 2003, are actually just zip files. And when you split open the zip file, you'll see that there are all these different pieces. And what we found is that the names are in the people file, a list of all the people, the document, which is all of the text, and you're going to see the changes kept here. And finally, the comments, they also have the names. And we'll look at this in a bit more detail, but we ran this Python script, and we did a really crappy way of just Control F and replacing names. But we proved that we could unzip the file, make those changes, rezip it, rename it to docx, and that way you're going to have a file with the right names. Now, this isn't a true unscripted coding because I've already done the work, but what we've done is we built something so that we could, I guess I have to choose the file off screen, sorry. Okay, so we've chosen this dummy file that I have, a mutual non-disclosure, and the first button we click is this list authors, and you'll recognize the various names here. There is unscripted coding without the space, there's my name, and some other party, Tech Giant A. And so we list out all the different people, and what's going to happen next is we're going to just replace them with different names. So in this case, I'll just say Anson, Anson. Oh, actually, this is not Anson, but in this case, we have Tech Giant A, and I'm happy to keep it unchanged, let's say. So unscripted coding all refers to me. And what we're going to do afterwards is click the change authors, and you'll see that we've downloaded. I'll just go to my download folder, and I've downloaded a new copy. And you'll see that Anson. If you hover over this text, you're going to see Anson. And of course, Tech Giant A, they show up as well, so we've left them unchanged. But in theory, we could have many more people, and we could consolidate these comments together as well. So, what have we done? Obviously, we've taken it away from Python, and we built it with JavaScript instead. And just like last time, I actually got a lot of help from ChatGPT. I'm going to go over the code, and that's what we're going to do today, and hopefully it'll be fairly fast. Let me just zoom in here, and we'll word wrap. First of all, the overall structure, like, this is nothing to write home about. This is a pretty ugly interface. But let's talk about it. There is the header. The main one is we've imported JSZip. JSZip is the only package we really need, and that will allow us to unzip and rezip files, all locally within the computer of the person running the browser. So there's no server or anything. This is all running right on the browser. I have jQuery and Bootstrap imported as well, just because it's quicker to build a nice looking interface, even if that isn't very nice. But you really don't need it. From there, I have, of course, the header, so that's this blue box over here. But what we really care about is right here. We have a file input. That's where we drag and drop the file. We have two buttons, one called List Authors and the other called Change Authors. And finally, we have a table. And of course, the tables have their own text input as well. Okay, what we really care about is the code here. And mind you, this is not the nicest possible code. We've gone through multiple loops that you didn't have to do. That if you're clever, you can do one set of loops, but you don't need to be super fancy. How many possible authors can you possibly have in a Word document? So hopefully this doesn't trip up. It's already very fast. Alright, so the first thing we've done is a function, and you'll notice that it's an asynchronous function called list authors. The first thing I've done is I've kept a list of the authors, and one of the reasons for this is because, we have this people.xml, and if I replace Unscripted Coding and Unscripted Coding Anson and all of these with the same name, I didn't want it repeating multiple people. It should just be deleting. If I create an Anson here, the next time I want to create an Anson, I'm just going to delete the person instead. Okay, so actually this is not the greatest place to start, but we'll keep going here. We have the zip contents, and we can go through each file in the zip contents. And from there, we're going to check the file name, and if it matches the files we're looking for, which was people, document, and comments, we're going to do all this stuff. In this case, the first thing we've done is with the people.xml, and we're going to use the XML parser straight out of JavaScript, decode this beautiful thing, and from there, what I'm going to do is find each person, each people node, and this is here, get elements by tag name, and you'll see that each person has a W15 person element, and a sub element, a sub node, is this presence info. So you have a person, a sub within that detail, presence info, and then the next person and their presence info, the next person, their presence info. From there, what we're going to do is we get each one, we're going to create, or we're going to find that table that we have up top, and we're just going to loop through each of the people. And in this case, we didn't have to do a whole lot. All we're doing is populating the table because we're listing authors. So in this case, every time we're going down the list and we're just popping it out of that list. Every time we see a person, we'll note the person's name down. We're going to create a brand new row in that table with the people, and then we're just going to remove that node and move on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Now, what's really interesting is that people, Word documents keep the names of people here in the people, but in comments, they also keep additional information, which is a person's initials. You see, I think there's a TGA somewhere in here. And so we have to loop again when we get to the comments file. So we're going to try and find each of those persons. So same thing, we're going to parse through it, use the XML parser, and we're going to find each comment within the comments. So this is a comment all the way through here. We really don't care about any of this. Right at the top, you're going to see the author and the initials. So in this case, we're going to find each of the person nodes. We're going to pop it out, and then we're going to go through the tables and try and find that name. And in theory, people should have a comprehensive list of all the people. Comments may not be made by every single person. So we should be able to find a table row, and then from there we're going to we're going to look for the author, and we're going to add initials. You're going to find, if we go back here, that it is possible that we have, say, 4 names here, but only 3 initials, or 2 initials, or 1, or none at all, because maybe there are no comments. So it could be blank. Okay, so that's how we populate. We just had to look at 2 files, the people file and the comments file. Afterwards, we have another function. This is a helper function here. At the very top, nope. This function really just creates a dictionary. And what I'm trying to do is crawl through this table here. And I'm going, this is the original person. That is the key to the dictionary. Then I'm going to determine who the author is. And it's basically going to say, if there's a new person, it's this name. If there isn't, then it's this old name. And same with the initials. So what you're going to have is a dictionary where each key is the original person's name, and then they have what we want the author and the initials to be in this new document. Okay. So now we're in the bread and butter. This is the longer function here. We have the file input. When we have a bunch of listeners on the document, and of course we have a listener on the file input and the 2 buttons. When we have the list authors button, that's the one that populates this chart. We're just going through, we're just going to check the file to make sure that there is a file uploaded. We're going to read the file, and then we're going to use JSZip to open it and go through the results. And because we already went through and created a function, we're just going to run that function. And that's all there is. The more important listener is, of course, a change authors button. This is where everything happens. When it gets clicked, very similar text, not fully ideal, but in this case, we're going to check that there's a file in there. We're going to do the same thing and use JSZip. We're going to load the zip contents, and we're going to get ready for a new zip file. Finally, we're also going to create that dictionary. That way we know who the original people are and who we want the new names to be. Now, what we're going to do is go through each of the files again and look for those 3 key ones. When we get to people, we're going to parse through it. We're going to look for all the person elements, and then we're going to go and find the attributes, find it in the dictionary, and we're going to replace it with the new author. After all of that, we're also going to, this is the people one. So not only do we have to replace the author, we got to go into the presence info and replace the user ID. This one, fairly straightforward. It's not a large file. They're very structured. Next one we have is same thing. We're going to go through, find document.xml. This is a long document. And what we're going to do is parse through all of it. And you're going to find that all of the changes with names associated to it is either delete elements or insert elements. Those are the changes you would make to a document, and they just have an author attached to it. We're going to go through, find all the deletes. We're going to set the attribute author to what we want the author to be, so we're searching up that dictionary, and we're going to do the same thing with the insert nodes. And so again, not the most efficient. We're looping through multiple times and we're rewriting code. Never a good thing, but this seems to work for now. And then we're just going to serialize the information, add it to the new zip archive that we created. And finally, one last one, we go through the comments. This one's a bit, well, it's very similar. We're going to search through all the comment nodes, but we're going to replace the authors and the initials. This is the only time the initials show up. Same thing, serialize it, package it up for the new zip file, and then anything that isn't Word, comments, document, or people falls in this else block where we're just going to package it up, put it straight into a new zip file without change. Rest of it is just cleanup. We're going to generate the zip content. We're going to package it all up. We're going to modify the name, so I want it to be modified authors. And then it's going to let you download the file. Very simple. So all of that is happening in the background when you click a single button. And it is conceivable that if you have a fairly large and long document with lots of comments and lots of changes, that this might take a few seconds and it might chug along. So, I hope this was interesting. This is a very niche project, but you can see that I've found lots of people online trying to do this kind of thing, and it only takes us a half hour, maybe more, a little more than that, to create a tool that hopefully I can put online and save a lot of people a lot of time as they try and fiddle with these changes. I have heard of people that are literally copying and pasting it in a separate document and recreating those changes. Very inefficient use of time. And creating these tools, is an upfront investment, but will help will help in the long run. So I'm going to put this up on my GitHub, and I'm going to make it freely available, of course, for other people to make these changes. I know it's niche, but hopefully you'll see that there's lots of ways you can make these changes in a docx file that isn't necessarily related to this project, but is very interesting to look through each of the files. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next week with a brand new project.